Hi, I'm Celeste, and welcome to my channel, and thank you for watching this video. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I developed this method of healing through parenting, what is healing through parenting, and how you can use it with your child. So, healing through parenting is a trauma-informed, brain-based approach to parenting that helps increase connection and reduce misbehavior in children. And I developed this method because I have a history of child abuse. I was heavily abused when I was a child, and I have been a preschool teacher for a long time, as well as I have a daughter, and I had been wanting a better way to handle not only my own issues, my own flashbacks and dissociations from the abuse that I went through, but also a better way to handle the misbehavior that my daughter has, because I didn't think that the traditional forms of punishments and rewards were effective in helping manage misbehavior. A couple of years ago, I was a preschool teacher at this one school, and it ended up horribly. I was using reward chart, I was using punishments, I was using all the traditional methods of behavior management. And it wasn't working, and I was alienating some of the kids. I was unintentionally picking favorites, and it just wasn't working the way that I wanted to, because I knew that there was a better way, but I didn't know what that way was, because I was just following what I had learned throughout the years. So when I left that school, I found a new school, and this school was called the Learning Tree, and they're in Fort Myers, Florida. And they use a program called conscious discipline. And conscious discipline is also a brain-based, trauma-informed approach to discipline that helps increase connection and creates a school family amongst the kids and the teachers and the parents to help students and children increase the time that they're in their rational state, increase the time that they are feeling connected and loved, so that they have an optimal learning environment. And when I found out about conscious discipline, it totally changed the way that I view discipline with kids. So during the start of the pandemic, I got laid off from my job as a teacher, and I spent the time in quarantine trying to figure out, how do I take the foundation of conscious discipline and how they're brain-based, and how do I turn that into something that's easily digestible and accessible for parents? And that is healing through parenting, and that's what I have come up with, and I have used on my daughter since she was a newborn, and I use it on myself too, to help me get through my own flashbacks and dissociations. And it has helped me heal my childhood abuse, and also helps my daughter feel more connected and keeps her in her rational state more often, so she plays more, and I rarely have to deal with misbehavior with her because I use my method on her. So I wanted to share with you what the method is and how to use it. Healing through parenting uses a simple 4-step process to handle any situation and any misbehavior. That is to identify the emotion that your child is feeling that's causing the misbehavior, validate the reason that they're feeling that emotion, help them take a deep breath, and then you can problem solve. And I'm going to show you what that all means in just a minute. Healing through parenting does not use any traditional rewards or punishments. It relies on natural consequences and learning about cause and effect to help children learn how to control their own behavior, rather than you having to keep putting out fires to do it for them. It works really well on children who are resistant to traditional forms of behavior management. So it works well on children who keep getting in trouble at school. It works really well on children who get upset easily if they don't get like a reward. It works really well on children who have learning difficulties or other issues that cause them to have misbehavior more often. So in order to understand how the 4 steps work, we have to understand how our brains are made up. So our brains are made up of three different parts. We have our survival state, which is color-coded red, and this is in our brainstem. And this is where our fight or flight response takes place. This is where we live if we're feeling fear if we're feeling disgust, if we're feeling horror or terror, if we're feeling like fear, or if we're feeling when our fight or flight response comes on. This happens in our brainstem. Then we have our emotional state, which is in our limbic system. This is like the hippocampus and the amygdala, and this is where a lot of our emotions are filtered through. And there's a little bit of fear that happens here, and this is also where other emotions happen. And then we have our rational state, which is color-coded green, and this is in our prefrontal cortex in the front of our brain. And this is the part of our brain that we want our children to live in as much as possible. Learning can only happen if a child is in green. A child cannot learn if they're in their survival state, and they cannot learn effectively if they're in their emotional state. They have to be in their rational state in order for the process of learning to actually take place so that they can retain information. And the primary function of healing through parenting and the 4 steps to emotional regulation is to get a child from their survival state and from that time where they're in that, like if they're feeling panic or fear, or if they're feeling terror or anything like that, is to get them out of that and into the rational state so that they can learn. And what's really important to understand as well is that when we have a child who is misbehaving, a lot of the times we use traditional forms of punishments and reward to try to control that behavior. So if a kid is, say, throwing a toy across the room, we would traditionally want children to understand, you may not throw. Don't throw the toy. Now you're going to be sent into timeout, or now you're going to get spanked. I know that there's still a lot of people who do spanking. I don't believe in it. I think it's a horrible way to handle misbehavior, and it causes a lot of issues in children. And they develop a lot of issues from being spanked. So with healing through parenting, instead of trying to control that behavior, control the child, and try to get them to stop throwing something across the room, the goal is to figure out, okay, what emotion were they feeling that caused that behavior to happen? Because emotion dictates behavior. In us, anytime that we do a certain behavior, it's because we have an emotion underneath of it. So, like, for example, if we go out to go party, it's because we're feeling lonely and we need to connect with people. So we leave the house and we go to a party, or whatever it ends up being. If we get angry and we slam the door, it's because we feel that anger and our bodies have to get rid of that feeling somehow, so we slam the door. So if we can identify what the emotion is that's driving the behavior, then we can help solve that emotion and resolve it so it gets us out of that survival or emotional state, puts us back in our rational state, so we can problem solve and figure out what do we do instead when we're feeling a certain way. So for the child who is throwing something, they might be feeling frustrated. They're feeling frustrated maybe that the puzzle pieces don't fit together the right way, so they don't know what else to do, so they throw it across the room because they're feeling full of all these emotions. They're in their emotional or survival state. They're flooded with emotion. They don't know what else to do with that, so they throw. So how does this work? In order to get a child from that survival state into the rational state so they can think and problem solve and learn new behaviors and learn what to do instead of throwing, we have to first identify the emotion that they're feeling that is causing the misbehavior. So we're going to think about what emotion is a child feeling right before the throwing happens, because we need to know what's happening in their brains that's causing them to toss the toy. So they could be feeling frustration, they could be feeling anger, they could be feeling desperate, they could be feeling fed up, they could be feeling maybe furious. So that's identify the emotion. And you literally, with the child, after they throw, you go over to them and you sit down and you hold their hands and you say, you were feeling angry. You were feeling furious. You were feeling frustrated. You were feeling fed up. Whatever the emotion is, you just give them a name for what they were feeling so that they can understand what their body was doing. And then the second step is to validate. Validate, why were they feeling that way? You were feeling really angry because the puzzle piece wasn't fitting together the right way, and you didn't know what else to do, so you threw it across the room. Or you were feeling fed up because you kept trying over and over and over to get the puzzle pieces to fit together the right way, and it just wouldn't work, and you just got so frustrated you didn't know what to do, so you threw the puzzle pieces. So you're identifying and validating the emotions that are happening. There's no judgment about the action that they're doing. There's no judgment about the behavior they're doing. It's validating, understanding, and you're hearing them, you're seeing them, and you're accepting them for who they are. And you're noticing that they're just having a hard time with something. So after you do that, then you take a deep breath with them. And then you work to problem solve. So problem solving could be, next time you're feeling frustrated like that, put the puzzle pieces down and walk away. Or next time you're feeling fed up and you don't know what else to do, call my name and I will come over and help you. Or next time you're feeling like that, you could walk away for a couple minutes, take a deep breath and calm down, and then come back to try again. So you're giving them an option for what do they do instead of throwing, because the problem with traditional punishments and rewards is that you're putting a child in timeout for behaving in a certain way, and what are they going to learn? If a child is in red, they cannot learn. They physiologically just, there's no way for their brains to be able to make new connections and learn anything. So when you send a kid to timeout, they're stuck in red. They're stuck in their survival state the whole time. They're not going to learn what you want them to do instead of throwing. They're just going to learn how to feel bad about themselves. There's no way that a child can learn how to behave if they're put in timeout. When you tell a child, no, you sit here and you think about what you've done, what are they going to learn? They behaved in a certain way because they didn't know what else to do, and now you're putting them in a chair facing the wall. How are they going to learn what to do instead? They're just going to learn how to cave in on themselves. They're going to learn how to hate themselves. They're going to learn what it feels like to be isolated and rejected. And that further solidifies them being in red, so that next time they're not even going to want to do a puzzle, because they associate doing the puzzle with feeling bad about themselves, because doing a puzzle leads to timeout. And that is traumatic for a child. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope that this was helpful. If it was, you could consider subscribing to my channel. It helps this content reach more people who might find this helpful, and hit the like button as well, and that also helps the YouTube algorithm reach more people who would benefit from this content. I offer online consulting through my website, and you can find the link below, where you can sit and have a 1-hour Zoom session with me where I go over the 4 steps with you, and we work out any issues that you're running into with your own child and you're feeling like you don't know what else to do. I can sit and work through that with you and troubleshoot. So you can find all that information in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you peace, love, health, and joy.